In this video, I'm talking about what it's like to date a Pisces. Pisces is absolutely one of my favorite signs in the zodiac. It's ruled by Neptune, and the archetype associated with Neptune and Pisces is illusion, mysticism, erasure, porous boundaries, erasing of boundaries, intuition, higher power, compassion, complete self-sacrifice, self-deception, addiction, soul merging, high vibration love, higher states of consciousness, more conscious access to the subconscious and the unconscious, dreams, visions, all of that. So what the hell does that mean for someone that has their sun in Pisces or otherwise has strong Pisces in their chart? Or more specifically, what's it like dating someone that has those placements? The first thing you should know about dating a Pisces person is that they definitely stand out from the crowd. Like, they're very weird. There's not a great way to say that. Typically, and this is especially true for people that have an ascendant or rising sign in Pisces, they usually have very distinct kind of dreamy eyes. Often these will be blue eyes, but they're not always. They're typically eyes that you can kind of get lost in. They're very doe-eyed individuals. Not always, but I've noticed that. Getting to know these people and being around them is a little bit like trying to catch a dream or totally remember the specifics of a dream right when you wake up and you're like coming to consciousness, but your dream is kind of like fading quickly and you can never quite grab it. It's a little bit like that with dating Pisces people. They're usually kind of eccentric, ephemeral, they're changeable, they're hard to pin down. A lot of times a Pisces individual, you might notice, is that they have these like very distinct looks. By that I mean that every time you kind of see them, they kind of look a little bit different, and it's always them. Like, you always know it's them, but there's just something like a little bit different looking. It's like they kind of are always sort of changing shape or changing form a little bit. If you ask the right questions, it's not super hard to get to know a Pisces person somewhat substantially or more substantially than other people in a short period of time, as long as you ask the right questions, right? Pisces and Neptune are associated with kind of the dissolution of boundaries, and these people are really, in some ways, they're reserved, but they're also open books, right? They don't have a lot of walls up. It's almost like the layer of protection they have between their soul and the rest of the world is so paper thin, it's like always constantly kind of leaking out. And this makes it very easy to kind of bond with them and develop a really quick kind of emotional connection. It also is a reason why these individuals are extremely sensitive, right? If you're starting to date a Pisces person, you'll know immediately that little things really bother them and their feelings can be hurt very easily. Don't overlook this sensitivity, but don't discount it either, right? It's a gift. Like, their sensitivity is their superpower. It makes them incredible observers of human nature. It makes them incredible artists. They're very empathetic. They can feel what other people are feeling. But again, they don't have a lot of protection against, the sensory experience of the world or their emotional experience. You're gonna brush up against them and it's gonna hurt their feelings, and you may not totally understand why, but you have to respect that if you wanna continue dating them and continue the relationship. Prime example, a Pisces that you're well into dating, maybe after you've begun to exchange I love yous and stuff like that, if you text them like love ya, Y-A, instead of I love you, like, that's a big difference to them. Like, that could make them really upset or sad because it seems like something substantially different according to how they view things and how they emotionally experience things. Pisces are kind of tapped into a different dimension than the rest of us, right? So they're going to feel things sort of related to what I said earlier, but they feel things, they feel a lot of unspoken and visible things. So they're going to be moody occasionally, and you might not completely understand why. You have to be someone that's able to maybe not totally understand it. You don't have to completely understand it, and you don't necessarily have to go into that rabbit hole with them, but you have to respect that that's their journey and that's part of their process and that's part of their essence. And you can't ever invalidate it or look down upon it or resent it. Like, that's definitely not gonna work in a relationship with a Pisces. Sometimes you might see the sign of Pisces end up on some lists of like most unloyal signs, which is unfair and fair, depending on how much nuance you wanna go into it. Any sign that's ruled by a slow moving planet like Aquarius ruled by Uranus, Pisces ruled by Neptune. The energy associated with those signs is a lot more like complex, and it's sometimes hard to put into a box. People with Pisces are interested in searching for absolute truth and absolute love and absolute connection. And sometimes that actually can go beyond how we conceive of a monogamous one-on-one love, right? Like, they don't see things in black and white. Everything is kind of a shade of gray. And so sometimes Pisces can ride their emotional currents, and it can let them get sort of swept up in connections with other people, or, you know, their energy can kind of leak into some other things, right? And sometimes that can create problems, or it can create situations where Pisces might betray trust. Sometimes they might develop intimate connections with other people and other things outside of the relationship. That's just kind of how, I mean, they sort of have to explore and make that journey, right? And you sort of have to give Pisces a little bit of a leash. I think Pisces are notorious for sort of like doing that, and then coming back and being really sad about it, and then maybe you get mad, and then they get kind of mad at you and resent you because like you don't completely understand why they did it. Just like not a fair position for you. And that's not necessarily true of all Pisces, but sometimes the rules can bend for Pisces, or they want the rules to bend for them because they're not always playing by the rules that everyone else are playing by. They're a little bit alien in that regard. Doesn't mean you have to like allow them to do that. You have to set boundaries with them and tell them what is and what isn't acceptable, and then just see if that's going to work out. You know, that's not a great answer, but that's just kind of, you know, I think something you need to be armed with if you're dating a Pisces. On the plus side, I mentioned it briefly before, Pisces people are highly empathetic, and they're really, like I said, in search of absolute truth, right? So they're very good at seeing all the nuances of a situation, and assuming they have the ability to be self-aware, especially if they have a little bit of air in their chart to kind of balance out all that water. They are in time, once you know the emotional high tide of a situation kind of dies down, they usually can see another person's perspective pretty well, and that's valuable, and they can be good at validating what you feel and what you see. So a Pisces that's committed to you, you know, no sign is perfect, no one's perfect, but they are, if they love you, going to try and make it work and work through whatever things come up. Like, a relationship is always going to be a journey, and sometimes there's bumps in the road. I think the biggest takeaway, though, is that for the person that's not scared of a Pisces and not afraid of their highly watery and intuitive and emotional nature, you're going to find a partner that's better than any other sign at forming the most kind of transcendental, loving, spiritual, higher order bond with a person. Like a Neptunian Piscean love is an absolute love that just can't be, no other sign can truly give that kind of devotional love that a Pisces can give when they're truly committed and things are truly aligned in the relationship. Like, they can give a soul-changing, like, interdimensional kind of love. And the people that have been with the Pisces for a really long time, or are starting to build that with them, know that, and they know that deep love and empathy that a Pisces is capable of giving. And assuming the other stuff is workable and assuming that people are compatible, that ability to love from a Pisces is more than worth all the other stuff. So hopefully this is helpful and helps arm those dating or in a relationship with a Pisces with a bit more information and a bit more context. Thanks for watching.